on, guys? It's Josie back at you with another video. Today I'm going to be doing my owner review of my Ninja H2. This is a 2016 Ninja H2, and I've had this bike in particular for about a year and a half, but this is my second H2 that I've owned. I had another 2016 for about a year before this one that I sold stupidly and immediately missed it and went and bought another one like a couple months later. But I wanted to get out here and touch base with you guys, give you an actual owner review on one of these bikes. I've probably put about 10,000 miles on both of my H2s, like my last one and this one, or close to it at least. So I've got some seat time in it. Now my last bike was pretty much just pipe and tune, which on these bikes is like somewhere in the 230 to 240 wheel horsepower range. And this one here obviously has a slew of mods. So the basic rundown of this bike in particular is it's a Jaeger Stage 3 package. So it's H2R cams, Stage 3 supercharger gears, his intercooler, Jaegerworks intercooler, Van Diemen exhaust, Sprint filter. It made 299 wheel horsepower on a lower reading dyno. So it is more powerful than an H2R. The H2R generally makes like 40 to 50 horsepower less than this bike on the dyno. That's at the rear tire, not what they state in the brochure. This bike has all the carbon on it. Front end's all carbon. That's all Moto composite stuff. The lower H2R wings are original H2R wings. The upper ones are Moto composite wings. So the Moto composite stuff, like, I've been very happy with the Moto composite stuff. It fit very nicely. I mean, any carbon fiber, especially when you're doing like an entire front section of a bike, an entire nose fairing, you're gonna need some kind of trimming. This did require a little trimming to make it fit on the carbon fiber, but nothing too serious. It actually went together pretty well. So the whole front end of the bike looks like an H2R, and it makes more power than an H2R at this point. The swing arm on it is an Adams, and it's a 6 to 10 over arm. It's 6 inches out over right now. I may go to 8 inches out. I don't know yet. To do that, I'm going to have to either extend the brake line or delete the brake line to the back brake and get a longer chain so I can go out further. My chain's pretty much at the max of what it can be. And as far as gearing goes, I am 1 up in the back and 3 down, or 1 up in the front and 3 down in the back, so it's geared a lot longer than factory. It's 1941 is what it's geared. By the way, I still haven't plugged my pair valve in. That's why the check engine light's on, so don't worry about that. It's nothing's wrong with the bike, nothing's affecting it. It's just because my pair valve's unplugged. So one of the things that I get asked a lot on this bike is maintenance cost. How much is the maintenance on this bike? Because you would think it's a ton of maintenance, and it is some maintenance. It's not, you know, it's not an R1. It's not like just change the oil and send it. Although it's close, to be honest with you. The biggest thing for me has been the clutch. As most of you know, I've had clutch issues on this bike. After I did the Stage 3 package, it did not want to hold the power. As soon as I did that package, the stock clutch started slipping. I did have Brock springs on it. With just Brock springs, it does hold the power. The clutch issues on this bike have pretty much been related to wear. I mean, the clutch had 5,500 miles on it, so it was time for a clutch. You know, I mean, on a bike making 300 wheel horsepower, if the clutch isn't all there, it lets you know pretty fast. So, I mean, wear items like that, be prepared to put those on. Obviously not as fast if you're just going to leave it pipe and tune, but if you're going to go all out crazy like I did on this bike, you're going to need to stock up on some backup clutches, because you're going to go through them every 3,000 to 5,000 miles probably, depending on what you do with the bike. The other big thing is I don't have enough miles on this bike yet. These engines, if they do let go, are extremely expensive to build. So you're better off refreshing them every couple seasons or every season, depending on how much you dog on it, how many miles you're putting on it. Because if it throws a rod through the block, it's gonna get expensive fast. So I'm probably going to refresh this motor after this season. It's cheaper to go ahead and refresh it than it is to build it if something goes really, really bad. Other than that, it's like normal oil changes and, you know, regular maintenance item, lube your chain, you know, all that good stuff. I'm actually not sure what the valve adjustment interval is. I know Travis just adjusted my valves because he was putting cams in the bike. So I'm good for a while, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I wasn't due for it. I mean, most bikes are like, you know, 12,000 miles or something. The H2, I'm sure, is sooner than 12,000 miles. I gotta look, though, to be 100% sure. But I haven't had any, like, huge issues with the bike. No, like, motor detonation. I've had some things, like some electrical problems, but it had to do with the pair valve. We figured that out. It was blowing a fuse that I didn't even know was there. There was, like, a little fuse box that had 2 fuses in it under the seat, and I was looking through the 2 main fuse boxes. I'm like pulling my hair out trying to figure out what's going on. Travis actually figured it out on another bike. No real issues, so just keep up on your maintenance, be ready to put clutches in it. As far as rideability of this bike, this is a very touchy throttle bike, so, you know, be ready for that. It's not like super smooth on the fueling. Because it is supercharged, it's very, very touchy. One of the other things on this bike is the fuel mileage, as you would expect, is not great at all. It's pretty terrible. Expect to be filling up every 100 to 120 miles, depending on how you ride. The way I ride, every 100 most of the time. But you're not buying a bike like this for MPGs, are you now? I mean, besides, the trade-off is great. Listen to that exhaust. And that flutter. It builds power so hard. So freaking hard. Jesus! It's scary how fast this bike is. Like on back roads like this, I come into corners a lot hotter than I probably should have with a stretch bike, just because I'm not expecting to get going that fast. Now, back when this was stock wheelbase, the bike could corner pretty well. I haven't ridden one of the newer ones. I hear the newer ones are better. They're more planted. I hear the fueling is a little bit better. So that was one of my biggest gripes with when it was stock wheelbase, like doing corners and stuff, was that the fueling on it was so touchy. I was scared of the back end coming around on me, like giving it too much power and it just flipping me off of it, high siding or something like that, you know, because coming out of corners, I couldn't just give it a little bit, you know, even like the littlest touch on the throttle was like 40% power. It was ridiculous. Some of that can be saved with a tune. Like if you get the bike tuned, it will work a lot better. The fueling is I haven't ridden anything that's perfect, but it is a little bit touchier of a bike. Not saying you can't take it to track days and stuff, because you absolutely can. Would get it at least flashed and see if you can get the fueling worked out a little bit. But again, I haven't ridden the newer ones, which I hear are a lot better. That flutter, oh my god. Now, my favorite part about this bike, and it's like times 10 now that I've made it look like an H2R, is the bike draws so much attention. So much attention. Like, even people that are not bike people, like car people, or not even any of them, just come up to the bike and they're like, what in the world is this? I mean, it looks like a freaking spaceship. It's got upper wings and lower wings. It's 6 inches over. It just looks ludicrous. It's all carbon fiber on the front end. It draws a crowd anywhere. Like, I go to a car meet or something, forget about it. The bike definitely draws a crowd. There's nothing that looks like an H2. Nothing. The bike is definitely, it's a handful to ride. It's a thirsty bike. Makes a ton of power. Sounds amazing. Draws a crowd. And by far is the best bike I've ever owned for being unique and fast. It's not for everybody, but it's something just draws you to it. Like when you ride this bike, you can look at power numbers on paper all day long, and be like, that bike should be that bike. Like, it should beat it outright. The H2 just defies all of that just because of the supercharger and everything. It puts the power down so hard. The way it makes power is so ridiculous. It just wants to rip your arms off all the time. No other bike has given me that feeling. The Turbo Busa, the new one might, but the old one was fast, but it was just refined, and it like built power. Like, oh, here's how much power, here's how much power, here's how much power, like as the RPMs went up. This bike, on the other hand, is just like, all of the power right now in your face, let's go. And that's one of the other things, putting around town. Is your bike cam? My bike cams. It's got dual overhead yams, bro. You do get this super nice Olin's steering dampener stock, and I have had no problems with this. With a bike with this much power, that steering dampener, money. I've never had like an abnormal amount of head shake. I have never had a tank slapper on this bike. And I mean, when it was stock wheelbase, I would set the front end down at 160, 170 sometimes. And no head shake, no tank slappers. This bike just shifts violently, by the way. Like, there is no slowness to the quick shifter at all. This has the best quick shifter I've ever had on any bike, by far. Now, it doesn't have an auto blipper, but you can get the sensor from the ZX-10 to give it auto blip. I just haven't got around to it, but the quick shifter is so violent. Like, even low RPMs where it's like 3,000 or 4,000 RPM shift and you're just lugging it, it's like violence. Hey kids, do you like violence? The Kawasaki Ninja H2 does. Alright, well guys, I came out here and pulled over so you could see what the actual outside of the bike looked like. I did bring my tripod because I was going to make this look really nice and do some cinematic stuff. Of course, I left the adapter for my camera at home, so I can't do that. So we're going to do a walk around. I'm going to show you guys what the bike looks like. This is all Moto composite stuff. The front end, the upper wings, the side panels. Those side lower wings are actually H2R. I do have a couple bolts coming, like there's one right there that is missing, and there's one on the other side that's missing that are just MIA after I put it back together. So I had to order those, but it looks money with the carbon fiber up front, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do the rear section carbon fiber. The tail tidy, I'm changing that. I'm getting rid of that. Van Diemen exhaust. I have a plug on order for the exhaust as well. I'm just trying to do little stuff to clean the bike up. The Van Diemen looks amazing. It is all titanium. It's the brushed titanium on this. To be honest, I probably would have rather had the polished titanium instead of the brushed, but it came on the bike when I bought it, so beggars can't be choosers, right? That's going to be carbon fiber here shortly. I'm going to get rid of the stock one. Not get rid of it, put it in the shed, but, you know, these panels are extremely expensive because of the paint. So I'm going to do a little more carbon fiber on it. It's done power-wise. I'm pretty much at the point to where the bike's scary fast, and I've got a 600 horsepower Busa coming, so I don't need to do anything else to the bike. The Adams swing arm came with this Brock's kickstand that is seized, and it, as you can tell, the bike leans a little bit too much this way, so I'm going to get a new one of those because I can't get it to extend any. It's supposed to extend. I've hit it with a freaking sledgehammer and it won't do it, so I'm going to order a new one of those. But as far as looks on the bike, I'm very pleased. I am going to powder coat the back wheel and the front wheel. I don't know what I want to do. I kind of like that gold on there. I may go a little more bronze. Like, that's kind of a bronzish gold, but I may go a little more bronze on both front and back. I kind of like that. The swing arm, I think I am going to powder coat that as well. Just do some kind of crazy color with it. I want to do the single-sided Roaring Toys, but I honestly have spent so much money on mods lately on the Busa that I'm probably going to hold off on that, because there's something else I wanted to tell you guys that I'm trying to get together right now for the channel. If you've stuck around in the video this long, here's a little tidbit. I am currently looking for a second H2. I am looking for a Ninja H2 Carbon. I think I'm going to buy a brand new 2021 Ninja H2 Carbon. To pull it off, I am going to have to trade the Aprilia, the Tuono, in on it. I love the Tuono, but man, 2 H2s sounds really cool. I mean, having 2 H2s and a Turbo Busa in the garage, what's not to love? What's not to love? All right, let's get back out there on the bike. So when you get the H2 built up to this level, it's still a rideable, streetable bike, obviously, but once the arm's on it and everything, it's pretty much a straight line only bike. So I think that's why I'm going to try to get an H2R not an H2R, an H2 Carbon Edition. And I really wanted to ride a new one too. I've never ridden a new one. So this will be like my silly, fast, straight line bike. The other one will be like a silly, fast, straight line, can kind of corner, stuff like that bike. And then the Busa will just be like the FU bike, you know. Oh my God. It just ripped the tire off in first gear. Oh my goodness. It was just like, sir, traction and first gear don't go together very well. Let me know what you guys like in the videos. Give me a little bit of feedback here and tell me what you guys like. I mean, just by view count, I can tell you guys like H2 stuff. Like, the H2 and the Turbo Busa by far get the most views out of anything. So I don't know, it's like the smart move to make, just to go all H2 Busa content. I mean, obviously I'll still ride other bikes in the channel, but it just seems like the move for right now, at least. So, end thoughts on the bike. It's violent. It is not smooth or mild-mannered. It is extremely fast. It can handle pretty well for a bike this size. You can definitely do track days on it. Obviously, if you don't have a swing arm like me, you can definitely do track days. You can do, you know, canyon carving in it, no problem. So, I mean, if you want a bike that can go really fast, still do corners, and, you know, like pulls an entire crowd over every time you park it, the H2 is for you. The H2 is definitely for you. If you want something that is smooth, you know, real flickable, easy to throw into corners, has some good power, the H2 ain't it. Like, you're looking more at the normal liter bikes. You're not looking at the supercharged bikes. This bike is an expensive machine, but it's worth every penny in my book. I mean, nothing pulls attention, nothing pulls harder. The way it puts the power down, even just back in the pipe and tune days, is like staggering how much faster this bike is than a regular liter bike in most scenarios. Absolutely 10 out of 10 would buy if that's your cup of tea, what I just lined out there. If not, maybe look elsewhere. You know, I'm just giving you my thoughts on the bike. I like it. I would buy it again. I did buy it again. I sold one and immediately it was like, what am I doing? I need to go get another one of those. So that's exactly what I did. And now I think I'm going to buy another one. Just because, why not? So, as always, guys, leave a comment, like and subscribe. Until next time.